The Nevada desert heat shimmered across the military training range as 68-year-old Thomas Blackwood parked his truck near the shooting facility. He opened the back and carefully lifted out a long case containing his compound bow. His weathered hands moved with practiced care as he checked the equipment. He had reserved lane 12 for the afternoon, paying the civilian rate to use the military range that was open to veterans on weekends. Nearby, a Delta Force training unit was conducting advanced marksmanship drills. 8 operators in tactical gear were working with their instructor, Staff Sergeant Mike Crawford, running through precision shooting exercises with the latest sniper rifles. They were the elite, the best of the best, and they knew it. Their confidence filled the air as much as the sound of gunfire. And if you think you know where this is going, wait. What happens next will make you question everything you thought you knew about skill and respect. Thomas set up his equipment quietly at his assigned lane. He wore simple jeans and a faded Marines t-shirt that had seen better days. His silver hair was cut short, and his movements were slow but deliberate. He began his stretching routine, preparing his shoulders and back for shooting. The Delta operators noticed him, and several exchanged amused glances. "Check out Grandpa with his Robin Hood setup," one operator called out, loud enough for Thomas to hear. Staff Sergeant Crawford smirked. "What's next? A jousting lance?" The group erupted in laughter. Thomas didn't react, continuing his preparation as if he hadn't heard anything. He'd dealt with dismissive young soldiers before. Crawford walked over, his tone patronizing. "Sir, you know this is a professional range, right? We've got live fire exercises happening. Maybe the archery club down in town would be more your speed?" Thomas looked up calmly. "I reserved lane 12. Paid my fee. Just here to practice." Crawford shook his head. "Practice? With that thing?" "My men are training with weapons that can hit targets at 1,500 meters. What are you going to do, hunt deer?" Thomas smiled slightly. "Something like that." He turned back to his bow, checking the string tension. Crawford wasn't done. "Tell you what, old-timer. See that target at 300 meters? The one my best sniper just hit center mass 3 times? Think your little bow can reach that far?" The operators gathered closer, sensing entertainment. Thomas studied the distant target through the heat waves. 300 meters is a long shot for a bow," Thomas said quietly. Crawford's smirk widened. "Exactly my point. This is a range for real weapons, not toys from medieval times." He turned to his men. "Gentlemen, let's give Grandpa some space to realize he's out of his league." The laughter was loud and cruel. Thomas said nothing. He simply nocked an arrow, a sleek carbon fiber shaft with razor-sharp broadhead. He settled into his stance, a posture that suddenly looked less like an old man and more like a coiled spring. His breathing slowed. The mocking voices faded into background noise as he focused. Here's where everything changes. Here's the moment that separates assumptions from reality. Thomas drew the bow smoothly, the compound system multiplying his strength. He held at full draw, compensating for wind, distance, and the arrow's arc. Then he released. The arrow flew in a perfect trajectory, silent and fast, covering 300 meters in seconds. It struck the target dead center, punching through the paper exactly where Crawford's sniper had hit moments before. The laughter died instantly. The Delta operators stared in disbelief. Crawford's mouth opened, but no words came. Thomas calmly nocked another arrow. That was 300 meters. "Want to see 400? His voice was still quiet, but it carried a weight that hadn't been there before. He adjusted his stance slightly, aimed higher to compensate for the increased distance, and released. The second arrow arced beautifully through the desert air and struck a target at 400 meters, again center mass. "How about we make this interesting?" Thomas said, turning to face Crawford directly. "See that target at 600 meters? The one behind the berm that your snipers use for extreme distance training?" Crawford nodded slowly, his arrogance crumbling. "That target is considered expert level even for our best marksmen with scoped rifles. You're telling me you can hit that with a bow?" Thomas didn't answer with words. He reached into his case and pulled out a different arrow, this one specially designed for extreme distance. He studied the wind flags scattered across the range, calculating angles that most people couldn't even see. His stance shifted again, becoming something that looked almost ceremonial. The Delta operators had gone completely silent now, watching with a mixture of disbelief and growing respect. The draw was smooth and powerful. Thomas held at full draw for what seemed like forever, making micro-adjustments that only someone with decades of experience could recognize. Then he released. The arrow climbed high into the Nevada sky, arcing impossibly far. 600 meters away, it descended and struck the distant target with enough force to be heard even at that distance. Not center mass this time, but close enough that any sniper would have been proud. Crawford stood frozen. One of his operators pulled out binoculars and confirmed what they'd all seen. "Sir, he actually hit it, 600 meters with a bow." "That's not possible." But it was possible, and they'd all just witnessed it. Thomas lowered his bow and looked at Crawford. "Staff Sergeant, I didn't come here to embarrass you or your men. I came to practice. But since you asked, let me tell you something about assumptions." His voice grew firmer, carrying across the range. "I'm Thomas Blackwood, retired Marine Corps, scout sniper for 12 years, 3 combat tours. After I retired from active duty, I joined a classified unit that specialized in silent reconnaissance. We operated in areas where gunfire would compromise missions, so we used bows. Trained for 8 years in extreme distance archery. Made shots in combat situations that would make your 600 meters look easy." Crawford's face had gone pale. One of the younger operators quickly searched on his phone and his eyes widened. "Sir Thomas Blackwood is in the military record books. He's credited with the longest confirmed bow kill in modern military history. 900 meters in Afghanistan. They called him Silent Arrow." The operator looked up at Thomas with newfound respect. "Sir, you're a legend. We study your techniques in advanced reconnaissance training." Thomas nodded slightly. "That was a long time ago. I'm just an old man now, trying to keep my skills sharp." Crawford stepped forward, and to his credit, he extended his hand. "Sir, I apologize. I was ignorant and disrespectful. It would be an honor if you'd be willing to teach my men some of your techniques." Thomas shook his hand. "Apology accepted, Sergeant. We were all young and cocky once. I remember thinking I knew everything too." Over the next 3 hours, Thomas conducted an impromptu masterclass. He taught the Delta operators about silent warfare, about patience, about reading wind and distance without technology. He showed them how ancient weapons in modern hands could accomplish missions that high-tech gear couldn't. The operators listened with genuine fascination, asking questions, taking notes, treating Thomas with the respect his skills and experience deserved. As the sun began to set, Crawford approached Thomas privately. "Sir, would you consider coming back? Maybe doing some formal training with our reconnaissance units? We could really benefit from your expertise." Thomas smiled. "I'm retired, Sergeant, but I'll come back as a volunteer sometimes. These skills shouldn't be lost. And maybe it'll remind your operators that innovation isn't always about the newest technology. Sometimes it's about perfecting the oldest." The story of that afternoon spread quickly through the special operations community. The elderly man with the bow who outshot Delta Force became a teaching moment at military bases across the country. Training instructors used it to remind young operators about humility, about respecting skills they didn't understand, and about the danger of judging someone by appearance or equipment. Thomas returned to the range regularly after that, always welcomed by whatever unit was training. Young soldiers would ask for tips, for stories, for wisdom about warfare that couldn't be found in manuals. He shared freely, never boasting, always teaching. His bow became as respected on that range as any sniper rifle. What does Thomas's story teach us? Never dismiss someone because their methods seem outdated or their appearance seems ordinary. The elderly person with old equipment might possess skills that surpass your modern advantages. Respect isn't about age or technology. It's about recognizing excellence wherever you find it. Tomorrow, when you see someone doing something that seems simple or old-fashioned, pause before judging. Ask questions. Show interest. You might discover that what looks ordinary is actually extraordinary, that what seems outdated is actually timeless, that the quiet person you overlooked possesses knowledge that could change your entire perspective. If this story moved you, share it. Let it remind people that skill has no expiration date, that wisdom often comes in unexpected packages, and that true mastery deserves respect regardless of how it's demonstrated. Honor the silent arrows in your life, the people who prove through quiet excellence that the old ways sometimes remain the best ways.